Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the solar system that I've set up on our sailboat, Golden Goose 2. So often solar systems are set up on sailboats that only use a portion of the available solar energy. And the real energy potential of solar is if it's pointed directly at the sun. And so what I did, we've lived on sailboats for a number of years and played around with different ideas, and we really want to do the off-grid aspect. And so over time I've come up with a way to use a really good system using the boom. So the thing is that with a boom, the boom on a sailboat, you can swing it in all the way across. You can raise it up, you can lower it down. It's really a good sort of gyro system. And so I'll show you a little bit about it. This is the solar system that we've got set up here, and it's up on the boom, and it's a very simple thing to do. It's one 2x4 and 3 or 4, half a dozen pieces of small pieces of hardwood and some screws, and yeah, it attaches to the main halyard and the topping lift up there. I'll show you that in a minute. And yeah, it moves back and forth. So hope you enjoy. Just a second here. Okay. So here we have the solar system. And it's summer, so we're getting a bit lax on the big things. Really, it's not summer, it's spring, but we're just worried about keeping the panels perfectly clean, because we are producing so much power that it's all good. Although the panels do need a scrub. So here's what I've done. So I will, if you look here, you can see the 2x4. It's just a piece of 2x4. This is a piece of cedar that I bought, and so you get a piece of 2x4, and then you put on each end, put a piece of hardwood across here, like that, and then you run a piece of line up through that and around the boom. So it's I'll show you here. Like so. So it's one long piece. So it goes here through this strut that we've put across here. This one comes up through the halyard. So that's the main halyard, the one that's used to raise the mainsail. And then it comes down through here, and I've got a stopper knot, a figure 8 knot and a figure 8 knot there. And then it comes out here, and a stopper knot there and a stopper knot there to hold those in place. And the same thing at the other end, but I'll show you that in a minute. And then I just put this around here. This is not the ideal line. It's an old piece of crab trap line that I found somewhere, and then I just do that. Good simple knot. Keep it fairly snug, but not too snug, because you see the thing is you can do this, right? And to keep things adjusted, this is a very simple system that I've got here. It hasn't been upgraded because it doesn't seem to have needed to have been. But using these rolling hitches, I created something so that it actually stops itself from coming back, just using a simple piece of line. So this is seamanship here. Yeah, and so I want it over on the other side of the boat, like this. sun, or actually the sun is directly above now, so we'll go like that. Lock it in place like that. Now, how do I have these attached? So what I did is I created mounting brackets with these screws. These panels are great because they're made of aluminum, the edges, the frame. So all I did was screwed a couple of, or drilled a couple of holes, and then put a couple of bolts coming out of there. Put a nut there to hold it in place on the outside as well as one on the inside. You can see here's what it looks like on the inside, on the other side there. Yeah, so you've got those sticking out on either side. And so what you've got is on one mounting bracket, you've got on one side of the mounting bracket you've got holes like that, and on the other mounting bracket you've got slots like that, and then you go like this. It locks it in place. And you tighten this up once in a while or whatever, but it's good. It's just gone through a pretty heavy winter, and it's gone very well. And the same thing applies to this one here, except I have to take this panel off to get this one open. Now, my concern was this thing, of course, is sitting up on the boom, and the boom is used to having sails on it, right? So you'd think, well, the windage is going to be terrible. You know, it's not that bad. If on a super windy day, you definitely you want to consider it. So we have kept these deployed in up to 20 knots, and you know, anything over that you want to consider putting them away, and that's when we get that kind of wind, then we use the wind generator, and that when the wind's up around 20 knots, I mean, it's not nearly as good as solar, but it's pretty decent, and call it mitigation. The wind is our mitigation tool. I wasn't super impressed with it, with the wind generator when we first got it, but it has come in very handy on those dark nights when it's windy and we need electricity, or on windy days when keeping the panels up is not a good idea. So the question then becomes, well, what do we do with the panels when we take them down? We've got a Dodger here, a couple boards there, set them on there, and then have a line like this, and you put it over there, and I can show you that in a minute. But basically what happens is you create a, I'm just going to make this rough idea for you, but this is a piece of driftwood I'm using here. You know what? It works, and with the price of lumber these days, it's a pretty smart way to go. So the panels go on here, like so, there, and I always put them up on the rack in the same order, and the panels are on there. You're gonna tie it here, like so, and then this is called a trucker's hitch. What that is, that's where you're able to put this through here and then cinch it down. And I haven't got this set up properly right now, but you get the general idea. Anyway, you tie them down on top of the bimini, and tie them to the bimini, and because they're laying flat, or not the bimini, the Dodger, because they're laying flat, the windage is very low. So yeah, you can leave them up there tied on top of the Dodger in a gale, and the windage is very low because it's only an aspect of maybe a couple of inches. So that works good. Now on this end, it's the exact same deal, except in this case I use a rolling hitch to run this line up from this strut here. Rolling hitch goes up, or I mean it goes up, and then it goes through a loop up there and comes back down here, and the same idea. it wraps around this thing here. And then, yeah, so that's how that works. And the same thing, if you notice the way this works up there when I tip it, see how it slides through there nicely? Yeah, it's beautiful. It really does work beautifully. It's a very simple system using just material that are easily had, not complicated. Now here's the part, I'm going to show you something that I get people all the time going, oh, you can't use that kind of thing on a boat. But you know what? You can go out and you can buy all the big fancy fittings and stuff for and expensive for hooking these up, and people go, you're losing so much juice to all these connections and all of that. You know what? I see people losing incredible amounts of juice because they keep their solar panels mounted flat all year round. So optimally, you want your solar panels pointed at the sun, and you want to be able to deploy them and take them off quickly and easily so that you can get maximum use of them. So of course, you may be a finer craftsman than me. What I've done here is I've used simple dollar store extension cords, and you create extensions from the panel and use, this is DC, obviously this is DC coming from the panels, and it's not a house current, but I'm using the same plugs that you would use on a house current. So on this boat we run a 12 volt system, and we also have an inverter, so we can run 120, but all the solar goes into the cabin using these same connectors. So I can unplug that panel, I can unplug that panel, unplug that one over there. We've got one panel that's running on a separate battery. It's easy enough. I can go like this, boom, unplugged, plug back in. So the thing about people going, oh, you're losing all this power because you're not reusing the right cables and you're having too many connections, I call BS, because most of those people have got their panels laying flat all year round. They're losing a ton. If I take these panels and I tip them this much more toward the sun, up goes the input. It would easily overtake any losses I've got by using these. And the great thing about this is that I can use this. I've got this system all over the boat on our 12 volt system, so my inverter plugs in because I added one of these regular cords to it, and I can plug into our 12 volt system. I plug the inverter in, boom, and if I'm not using the inverter, I can unplug it again. Our same thing with our 12 volt fridge. I want to plug it into the 12 volt system. Oh, there, plugged into the 12 volt system. So give me all your technical details about how this is a bad idea, and I will tell you that it's not a bad idea. It works beautifully using the same thing, just recognizing that you can use the same system on 12 volt as you can on 120, and these plugins work beautifully. Spending the big bucks to get these special systems, waterproof and all of that other stuff that are used. Hey, you know what? We just spent the winter on the Pacific Northwest here in the pouring rain, and this system worked great. You want to make sure that these connections are done properly, and they are. These connections are done using a special technique to make sure, you can pull on that as hard as you want and you will never get that to come apart because of the way that I've spliced it. Maybe I'll show you how to do that at some point too, but yeah, doing it properly, there's different ways to do these things, but this is a really good system there. Now, another aspect the boom, because of the topping lift, the boom can come down like this. So in the winter, you want to point them at the sun, you can lower it down that way if you want to. That's not the, you don't always have to. I can put the boom off to the side. I boom it out. I've got special lines to pull it over to that over to one side or the other to hold the boom over, so you can focus it directly on the sun. And if that doesn't work, if you know, because the wind blows, see the boat is moving around right now, that makes it really hard to point at the solar. If we were if it was winter right now and I really needed to make sure we got as much solar as we could, I would take this. That's our spare anchor, and I would take it out right now. For example, today the sun is right up there. I would probably put the stern anchor right over there and hold the boat beam to, and then the solar would be directly pointed directly at the sun, and then I would tip the panels and have almost perfect optimization at any time of year. You know, so it's a really good system, and you know, not everyone is going to want to use this system. What a lot of people do is they use a generator, and I get that. You know, this past winter, not that many people were as committed to solar as we were. Solar is quiet. Solar it keeps us running off a reasonable amount of stuff. We don't use a television, you know, we don't we adjust our usage to our production, not our production to our usage, and the result is we have a 12-volt freezer. You know, we keep things frozen. That's our big usage. Other than that, it's charging phones. We've got all LED lights, and yeah, I can watch a movie on a tablet or a laptop. You know, I don't need a huge TV or something like that. That really, or a toaster. Or if you want, you can even use a toaster if you've got the battery capacity to store the power. You know, and what I would do there is I would use a separate bank. So for example, we've got one separate bank, and that was the trick that I learned in the winter, is to put the freezer, which is our big draw, put it over on a small battery, and put all 4 panels on that, and use our big bank of batteries for running our day-to-day use, which isn't that much. And what happens is that small battery gets charged up every day, almost to full, and then at night it gets dragged back down again, and then we just use that battery like crazy, and it works beautifully. And another thing that we've learned is always deploy the energy creation, even on the most gray days. Have those panels out and pointed not towards the mountains or the trees, but towards the brightest part of the sky, because it may not be keeping up, but I've discovered it's mitigation, and the mitigation works really well in the winter. You know, you during the day you take advantage of every drop, and you don't say, well, it's a rainy day today. It doesn't matter. You're still pulling in a certain amount, and it mitigates and helps. And like I said, with the wind generator, that thing is, I was disappointed with it because it doesn't produce what a solar panel does. You know, but you know what? In the middle of the night, when a gale was blowing, it was producing great. You know, and it was mitigating and adding back to our banks at night. And yeah, it had its place. Once I mounted it there and took it and a battery out to a point on an island that we were staying at, and left it out there so that that battery could charge in the southeast gale, and it worked beautifully. Went back and the battery is charged right popped right up. Then bring it back, and we live this nomadic sort of life of Riley lifestyle, and that gives me something to do, out there playing around, And, so anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've, this is valuable information for you, and I'll try and come up with a couple of other tips and tricks I've learned. Our boat, it looks a little scruffy because we use it continually. It's hard to keep it looking perfect all the time. Oh, my wife might argue a little bit that I could do better, but anyway, as Red Green says, I'm a man and I can change if I have to, I guess. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed this, and yeah, good luck with your solar, and if you're into sailing, fair winds, have a great time. So there you have it. That's the solar system that produces a very usable 365-day-a-year energy source for living on a sailboat, and it works great. So hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We also live nomadically on land as well, so you might be interested in seeing some of our adventures there.